So all of us talk, but when you get to a court of law, these lawyers are parsing this out, and they're looking at the minutia, and they're looking at the specific technicalities. And I think that's a legitimate thing as administration to bring to the fore.
The Trump administration has intensified immigration enforcement, expanding beyond mass deportations to include legal residents and foreign visitors. ICE has arrested a Georgetown professor, detained German tourists, and questioned Columbia students over pro-Palestine protests. Officials justify these actions as enhanced vetting for national security, but critics argue they target individuals for their speech rather than their illegal activity. Using a rarely invoked law, the government is moving to deport legal immigrants, and not illegal, but legal, L-E-G-A-L, immigrants, deemed threats to U.S. foreign policy, sparking legal battles. Homeland Security defends these actions as necessary, while free speech advocates warn they set a dangerous precedent for suppressing dissent. The question being, should national security concerns justify deporting legal immigrants and foreign visitors for their political beliefs? Or is this a dangerous overreach that threatens free speech?
First of all, the question itself is very American and a good one. And I like that we're asking the question, and I like that we're fighting over the answer. So already our republic is in good standing. And every time I hear this, and I hear when an administration comes out with their idea of the law and it's adjudicated, I know that we are alive and well. Democracy and the republic is alive and well. And so, and that is what should happen. However, let me just then caveat this by saying, when you get your green card, one of the things that you have to do when you get your green card is to assure on the application that you are not a member or supporter of, in any way, a terrorist organization or an organization that is, I guess, antithetical to the values of the United States. You are not a citizen. You are a guest still. And there are conditions to that, and they're spelled out very, very coherently. It is a legitimate question to ask when someone is a British citizen, when they are when they are as disruptive as Mahmoud Khalil has been. And what I mean by disruptive is not just shouting, but if you are actually disrupting classes, restricting people's ability to move about a campus because they're Jewish, etc. And we did see this. I saw that. We did see that in Columbia's campus. Mm-hmm. We did. So my opinion is that at least that is worth looking at. And those questions are important to ask. It is, there is a distinction, I suppose, of course, between being pro-Palestinian, meaning you don't want innocent Palestinians to be destroyed and killed in their home, many of which have been. We have 50,000 Palestinians dead, many women and children. That's a horrible thing. One need only look at what happened in North Gaza and the Jabalia, I think that's how you say it, refugee camp. And it's been decimated. It's horrible. And I think as an American, you have a right to protest that and be outraged by that. Separate argument. There is also a difference, though. If you are a green card holder, you're calling Hamas, I don't know, I'm not saying Mahmoud Khalil said this, but if you're calling Hamas freedom fighters, but you're a green card holder, that could be adjudicated against, not in your favor. To call Hamas freedom fighters is then to say, I am in support and sympathize with Hamas. If you're a green card holder, that could violate what you wrote on your application. And under that premise, you can then be deported. And you have to understand that the reason I'm being detailed about this is that's exactly how it's adjudicated. So all of us talk, but when you get to a court of law, these lawyers are parsing this out, and they're looking at the minutia, and they're looking at the specific technicalities. And I think that's a legitimate thing as administration to bring to the fore. mainly because take a look at England, and especially London, or just England in general, but parts of London, where, if you've been there, if you've been to Paris, if you've been to London, I'm sorry, as somebody who grew up in the Muslim world, who loves Arabs, who has a very positive experience. So, but as somebody who I think is fairly sympathetic to lots of these, sympathetic to the Arab people, you can walk through neighborhoods where all the women are covered, where everyone is Muslim, where no one is assimilated, where everybody speaks Arabic, and they're rather, what is the word, hostile in many ways to the indigenous population. And they're certainly hostile to the indigenous population's cultures, beliefs, norms, and religion, to the point where they're trying to establish Sharia law in certain neighborhoods. The Irish fought for their independence for thousands of years against British domination. Really, let's call it 800 years against British domination. It was not a cakewalk. It was very difficult. And they won their independence. Sweat, blood, and tears. And they're watching this sort of slow eradication, not only of their culture, but the demonization of their culture in many ways. And people being jailed for speaking up about the fact that they want to keep their culture. They want to hold on to the culture that they fought so hard for. So you have people in our administration that are looking at these trends and saying, not on my turf. And I sympathize with it. That's what I think.
Recently, whistleblowers have been called before Congress to answer a question that could literally change human history. Is the U.S. military in possession of actual alien technology? On the new 4-part Change Agents special series Black Project, an Ironclad original, we examine the history of military research into anti-gravity, strange special access projects, and the work being done by private contractors like Lockheed Martin's Skunk Works to try to understand if UFOs are real, or if the military is hiding a breakthrough that could potentially alter our world. Stay tuned until the end for a preview of the next episode. Become an Ironclad YouTube member to binge all 4 episodes of Change Agents Black Project on launch day. Otherwise, catch new episodes weekly. Join now, YouTube at This Is Ironclad. I agree with you on, I love, as much as it might irritate some people, I love seeing the checks and balances at play. We're going to do this. And then the court says no. And then we're going to appeal. And then the courts, that, and again, and I'm not, you know this as well as anybody else. I don't pretend to be a scholar about the U.S. government and the intricacies of how it works, but I understand the checks and balances. And the fact that that is happening, I feel, as you said, is a good sign. Like we're doing okay. The system as designed is working as designed. For me, the First Amendment, I mean, it is, I'm on my 3rd passport at this point, post-military. I didn't bother using one when I was in the military because, one, there was nobody to check it. And we were basically hitting all the places that were the opposite of 5-star, TripAdvisor resorts anyway. So
you were also doing Black Ops.
No, actually we didn't use those terms. We were very pretty open about what we were doing. And sometimes we would even walk around in the daylight. It would surprise people. Most of those trips to those countries, First Amendment is a concept that is, it might be novel, but it's distant. And it is an environment where you get in step with the party line, or there's an actual literal or physical stick, if you're lucky, that's going to come and correct that. To me, it is such an essential aspect of who we are. And I often, and again, I don't know the legality of this either, and it falls back into the check and balances. I hear people all the time, the First Amendment to them is expressed through the lens of what they can say. I should be able to say and do what I want. To me, the First Amendment is about tolerating what somebody else is actually saying and doing. Whether it absolutely turns your stomach, it makes you want to throw up in the streets, you hate them for it, but we live in a place that it exists. So I'm not an expert on the legalities of this. I would like to see, the government, among many things they could do to, I think, ease a lot of the uncertainty that people are feeling about some of these actions, is they could actually break down kind of what you did. These are the steps we're taking and why, because that's often lost. It's like, hey, executive order, and of course the news cycle being 60 seconds at a time, you have time to show the video of the guy getting arrested at the dorm in Colombia, whatever it is. And then it's like, oh, we're deporting people because of speech. We're turning into Nazi Germany. I feel like there's a few steps in between those things. And I feel like the government could probably do a really good job or a better job of explaining what you described, the legalities, the intricacies. What does it even mean to be a green card holder? Are you protected by all of the rights that come with the Constitution, or does that come when you have citizenship? Are there things you still need to be careful of? Are you a guest? Are you a citizen?
The answer to all those questions is yes.
Yeah.
The answer to these questions is a green card holder. If you incite a riot and that riot restricts the movement of people, that is not free speech. That does not fall under free speech. You can be deported for those kinds of things, especially if you're inciting a riot and you are thought to be in support of not the Palestinian people. And again, his lawyers will say he was talking about Palestinians. And they will then say, well, yes, but why did he say Hamas? Why was he wearing Hamas colors? Or was he holding a Hamas flag? I don't know the intricacies, but they're going to ask these questions. And if you are a green card holder and you're holding a Hamas flag, I promise you, there are judges in this country that will consider that a violation of the agreement you made on that application as a green card holder, and you will be deported. So he knows this. And so it's my feeling again is if I'm a guest in a country and I'm a green card holder, I don't think I'm going to be leading riots and taking over buildings. I don't think I'm doing that because there are a lot of countries that wouldn't even adjudicate this.
Yeah.
And there are a lot of countries in Europe that wouldn't adjudicate this. And you'd be out right quick.
I mean, I've been to those areas in both England and in France that you're talking about. And, I actually would have added, it's not that in my personal opinion, it's not that that population has a disdain for the French or English. In those areas where I have seen that they are in fact trying to apply Sharia law, it's a disdain for everybody other than those that believe what they believe. It's not only where they're living, but everywhere else. And my point in saying that is the answers to most tests, I feel like, are actually on public display somewhere if you pay attention long enough. And we live in a digital world, and I'm not going to say that's the same as actually going and feeling the uncomfortableness of walking in some of these areas where the hair starts standing up on the back of your neck a little bit. You can see people looking at you like, they might want to wear my skin like a leotard. Now, that's what I think. I'm not so sure that's what they're thinking.
And I don't think that's what they're thinking.
Listen, I am just sharing my truth with you about how my brain works. So that's where my head sometimes goes.
Skin like a leotard. Are you allowed to say, were you working for the U.S. government when you were in those areas, or were you just a civilian?
I was over there not as an emissary or working for the government, but while I was in the military. But I've also substantially traveled through Europe post-military as well. And sometimes France is a good example. My God, we were there for the 80th anniversary of D-Day, and not the easiest city to travel through. And we are, right. We're with people like, hey, we need to get the fuck out of here because you can just tell. And it's, again, the answers to the tests are on the wall. My concern, and when I will start getting concerned, and I feel like, again, everything has to be politicalized and there's no in between. So one side said we're protecting our country. The other side says we're eroding all the foundational principles of our country because you guys are using this a lot and we're becoming Nazi Germany. And anybody who doesn't agree with you is being deported. I'm not seeing that yet, but I would start to have a lot of concern if things did trend toward, well, you're not you're not in line with this particular administration or the goal or the aim of this country. We are going to boot you for that. That is something that I would stand up against right now. I think, again, as you laid it out, there is legal basis in standing for this. And as long as there's that checks and balance in place, I'm more along the lines of let's wait and see how the courts adjudicate this and go from there.
As long as you say that, we're good. And you can hear Trump saying that if the court should be a thorn in a president's side. And so we're fine. We're fine. This will work its way out, and people will cry injustice on one side, other people will say yay on the other, and so it goes. So it goes.
On the new episode of Black Project, the Change Agents special series. When a CIA agent and aerospace executive showed up unannounced at a Stanford professor's office with a very concerning request. It would send one of the world's leading scientists on a path to somewhere he never expected to be, on the hunt of a UFO crash retrieval site. Become an Ironclad YouTube member to binge all 4 episodes of Change Agents Black Project on launch day. Otherwise, catch new episodes weekly. Join now, YouTube at This Is Ironclad.